Welcome to our guide on identifying dummy activities in a network diagram. Whether you are charting the course of a large scale project or navigating the intricacies of task sequencing, understanding the role of dummy activities is essential for effective project management. So, let us dive in. In project management, network diagrams serves as an invaluable tool for visualizing the project workflows, dependencies and the timelines. But hidden within these diagrams are dummy activities. These are the placeholders that play a crucial role in maintaining the logical sequence of tasks. So, what exactly are dummy activities and why are they important? Dummy activities are virtual tasks that represent logical representation or logical relationship between real activities in the network diagram. While they don't require any time or resources to complete, they serve as connectors, ensuring that the correct sequencing of the activities is maintained. Now, imagine you are constructing a house, but before you can install the roof, let us call it as activity B, the wall, which may be called as activity A, must be constructed. However, once the walls are completed, multiple tasks such as installation of windows, electrification and the wiring can commence simultaneously. To reflect this in the network diagram, a dummy activity is inserted between activity A and activity B, signifying that activity B depends on the activity or depends on the completion of activity A. But how do we identify when dummy activities are needed? So let us explore some key scenarios. Firstly, dummy activities are often required when there are complex dependencies between activities such as overlapping timelines or merging and splitting points in the workflow. Secondly, iterative processes or loops within a project may necessitate the use of dummy activities to maintain flow of tasks. Thirdly, the critical paths. These are the longest sequence of tasks in the projects, which may involve integrate dependencies where dummy activities are essential to accurate scheduling and resource allocation. So by understanding these scenarios and regularly reviewing our network diagram, we can adeptly identify when dummy activities are needed and ensure the smooth execution of the project. Now, to have a deeper understanding of the network diagram and the introduction of dummy activities in the network diagram, we'll take help of a numerical example and understand the ways in which dummy activities can be introduced in a network diagram. So let us see. Now consider the following precedence table. The table has two columns. First column suggesting the activities and the second column showing the immediate predecessor for each of the activity. Now the first column has activities starting from A and going up to E. Means that there are multiple activities like A, B, C, D and E. And there are in the immediate predecessor column there are some blanks and then A, B and C. So D and E are missing or not shown in the immediate predecessor column. So what we need to do is we are required to construct an activity network from the precedence table. But before we can begin or before we can move ahead, we have to redesign or reformat the table to have a correct context of the network diagram. So we recreate the precedence table wherein the first column now takes place of that of immediate predecessor, and the next column is of the activity. The purpose of reshuffling the sequence of columns is to show a correct sequence of activities and their predecessors. Now here we need to remember certain points related to introduction of dummy activity. A dummy activity is required between two activities which share some but not all of their immediate predecessors. A dummy activity may also be required from the end of each shared immediate predecessor to the start of the activity that has additional immediate predecessor. Or for that matter, dummy activities are represented in the activity network as dotted lines. So now we will see that in activity column, the first row there is a combination of A, B and C, and similarly from in the second row the D originates from a combination of A and B. Also, when we see the third row, there is E originating from a combination of B and C, though A, B, C are having no predecessor. So this also indicates that there is a possibility of dummy activity here. So let us try to draw the network diagram. So as our table suggests that from no immediate predecessor, A, B and C are originating. So once activity A and B have originated, the A and B and C have originated, now next is the time for origin of D. Now how does this D originates? D originates from the combination of A and B, but here the combination of A and B is not possible or is not happening unless we introduce a dummy activity between A and B. This indicates that combining A and B will give rise to D. Similarly, in the next activity, activity E originates from the combination of activity B and C. Here B and C. But we can either originate the activity E from B or from C. So here again there is a need of a dummy activity starting from B and joining the C activity, and then only the network diagram will get complete. Now see, there is nothing originating from E, and that is why there is a blank as far as the successor of E is concerned. Now this is how a complete network diagram with two dummy activities will be like. We could not have completed the network diagram or correctly drawn the network diagram without the introduction of these two dummy activities. Let me remind you that the dummy activities neither consume any time or resources, so that it has no impact on the final duration of the project. We can understand the introduction of dummy activity with the help of another example. So let us move on. Now here we have a network precedence table and we are required to create a network diagram and we have to see whether there is any requirement for dummy activity or not. So first step is again to recreate the table, since here also the activity table, activity column and the immediate predecessor column are in the sequence which we want to reverse. So changing the format of the table, we see that we have immediate predecessor column and the activity column rearranged likewise. Now here in this particular table, from 0 activity A and activity B are arising. We have clearly shown this particular thing in the diagram. Now in the next step, we have to see that activity C is originating from activity A. So let us give rise to activity C from activity A. I hope till here we should not be having any confusion. Similarly, from activity B, activity D is originating. So again we will give rise to activity D originating from activity B. So here also I hope this step is very clear to you. Now in the immediate predecessor column, it shows that with a combination of C and D, E is originating. While again from C only, F is originating. So from C, if we want to originate F, I don't understand or I don't see that there should be any problem. So we will first originate activity F from activity C. So now the network diagram will look like this particular thing. Now going back to the previous step, we have to give rise to activity E from activity C and D. So what we will do is we will give rise to activity E from activity D only. So here you can see that activity E is originating from activity D. But since the activity E was coming out from a combination of activity C and D, we introduce a dummy activity between activity C and activity D to make it possible to give rise to activity E. Then from the combination of E and F, activity G is originating. So we will give rise to G from E and F. And now in the last step we see that there is no activity originating from activity G, and hence this is the end of the network diagram. Here we have seen that we have introduced a dummy between activity D and E to give rise to E, and this is how we have to introduce dummy activities in the network diagram. And there you have it. The secrets of dummy activities in the network diagram are unveiled. Armed with this knowledge, you are better equipped to navigate complexities of project management and optimize your workflow efficiencies. Be sure to like, share and subscribe for more insightful guides on project management best practices. In case you have any query, you can put the query in the comment box and I'll be very happy to answer your queries. Until next time, happy managing and happy learning. Thank you very much.